This video was sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform for building your own websites and online stores. It's so good, I've been using it for my own website for the past 2 years. Thank you so much for the 300,000 subscribers. To celebrate right now, I'm having 2 giveaways, one of which is here on the channel, which is a chance to win the Master Grade Gundam Barbatos and the option set again. And the other is over on the Mecha Gaikotsu Discord, which is a build off with some gift card related prizes. All the info you need, down there in the description. The Humble High Grade, the first step for budding builders around the world, a staple in every Gundam collection, and the gunpla line with the widest scope. If you want a mobile suit from one of the various Gundam universes in palm-sized plastic glory, chances are there's a high grade of it. Honestly, they're a collector's dream, or a nightmare if you're a completionist. So today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 favorite high grades and my top 5 least favorite high grades. This, once again, disclaimer, is by no means a best and worst list. This is completely and utterly subjective. So you may find it a little bit funny and it may not be what you expect, but what I grade gunpla-wise when it comes to the high and low tiers isn't necessarily in line with my own particular taste. Of course, it will have somewhat of an effect on it. So yeah, basically, this is going to be a loose video about the ones I like and the ones that I don't. And I will mention as well that there are so many high-grade Gundams out there that this list isn't necessarily complete. I did put a couple of limitations on it to make it make a little bit more sense. The first is, I have to have reviewed it in order for it to be on the list, mainly to have the footage. The second aspect is, I did limit putting premium Bandai kits on this list just in case you wanted to go out and get one. They're not that easy to come by. There kinda is one on here, but not really. Kind of. The other limitation is, well, when it comes to the Gundam Build franchise. So Build Fighters, Build Divers Re-Rising has a lot of kits that went right on into the arse end of this list, which would have been the top 5 least favorite because of all the color swapping, stickers, janky builds, etc. So there is one of those kits on here. You can probably guess what that is, maybe. But yeah, that is enough for the disclaimers. So once again, this is a personal list and limitations on premium Bandai and the Build franchise. Now here we go. Are you looking to build your own website, start an online business, or even start your own online store? Then look no further than Squarespace. I've been using it myself for the past 2 years now, even before they approached me as a channel sponsor. Do you want to create your own curated gallery of your finished, finest gunpla builds? Now you can with Squarespace's customizable galleries and professional portfolio designs. Connect all of your social media accounts so you can display all of your posts from all of your social medias all in one place. Have you ever considered selling your own custom builds online or starting your own gunpla store? Sell directly through your website using Squarespace's customizable e-commerce templates. Check out squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Mecha to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So coming in at the number 5 spot in my least favorite high grades is one I reviewed very recently. This right here is from a series you may not have even heard of at all. This right here is the high grade beginning Gundam from Gunpla Builders Beginning G. I don't know where to start on what I don't like about this kit, but I can mention one thing that I do like. It's got really nice legs. The design of those, articulation, everything, quite good, but the rest of it, I don't even know. So I don't dislike the design of the beginning Gundam. Here it is right here, and I like the design. It's just Bandai made the jankiest, most half-baked, half-arsed kit ever for this. The color separation is really bad, so out of the box it is heavy on the stickers if you choose to use them. The torso is one of the worst torsos I have ever come across in Gunpla. It does nothing besides disappoint to the max. The accessories in here are a little bit weird as well, and just on the whole, the plastic, the build, the design, the look, everything is an absolute flop and a failure. Of course, if you're going to put the time into it, which you always could with any gunpla, it could be good, but out of the box, let's just say if you began your gunpla building career with the beginning Gundam, it'd be finished pretty quickly. You'd give up. I'd avoid this one if I were you. So now jumping into the number 5 spot of my 5th most favorite high grade that I love and adore, and you know how at the beginning of this video, I did mention that I wasn't going to put any Build Fighters, Divers, or Divers Re-Rising kits in this particular list. I was talking about the bad side of the list, because the Core Gundam is one of my favorite kits of all time. It is so cool. Now this is the OG Core Gundam, not the Core Gundam 2. The Core Gundam 2 is fine, actually looks better than the Core Gundam 1 I think, again in my personal opinion. It's just, out of the box, there's something wrong with the number 2. It's a little bit janky and wiggly. This one right here, the Core Gundam, the original, is phenomenal. It is so cool. So of course I'm mainly talking about the high-grade Earth 3 kit that this comes in. Everything about it is so fun and done so well. This of course was built from the ground up for Gundam Build Divers Re-Rising, and it feels like it. There was so much love and thought put into this. It's a tiny high-grade Gundam with so much attitude, articulation, design, everything. And the fact that you got a whole bunch of armor to switch on and off of it is a pretty cool extra, but to me, it's the Core Gundam inside that I love. You know, there is all this stuff you can do, like buy all the optional armors, buy the optional armors for the Alus Gundam, all of that fits on this kit, but still, it's the Core Gundam inside of it that I love. It's just so unique when it comes to Gunpla, there is nothing like this. If I could petition for there to be the next Master Grade that would come out, it wouldn't be something like the G-Cell Furka or anything like that. It would be a Master Grade Core Gundam. It's just that fun. So coming in at the number 4 slot of my least favorite high grades, and because high grade is such a massive line, this is kind of more of a complaint in general than one kit in particular. So I'm just going to use the high grade Rick Diaz to talk about right here, and that is the amount of blatant mono-eye hate when it comes to the high-grade line in general. The Rick Diaz right here, this is the Quattro Bonija Premium Bandai one, by the way, and I did say I wouldn't mention any Premium Bandai kits besides one that isn't really all that Premium Bandai, and that's this one, because it is essentially this standard Rick Diaz release, just with some new joints, and I would hate to see what the old one was like if this is the update. I mean, seriously, if you ignore Char Zaku or the Zaku in general that we tend to get after Char Zaku, mono-eye kits really do get the short end of the stick. Especially old school designs. Now, the Origin came out quite recently, the Gundam series Gundam the Origin, and that gave us some good mono-eye kits, but when it comes to the old school designs from especially the 80s, it just isn't cool. Bandai just has that mono-eye hate. The amount of times I've grabbed a high-grade mono-eye kit with a cool 80s design and ended up with basically a little brick. These things need justice, man. Justice for the mono-eyes. And jumping into my number 4 favorite high-grade slot is the justice for the mono-eyes. So yeah, this really did make up for all the mono-eye hatred and prejudice Bandai has been up to in the last however many years. This kit is phenomenal. It is absolutely huge. The plastic in this kit is phenomenal. The articulation is great with some great stuff going on inside of the torso. And honestly, this might just be the greatest mono-eyed kit I have ever built. It is just so cool. Also, by the way, if you have not seen the movie Gundam Hathaway, make sure that you do. This mobile suit in question right here has some of the coolest Gundam scenes ever. This kit will dominate a shelf of high grades. It will dominate a desk. It's so eye-catching. Yeah, but what more can I say? It's big, it's burly. Even though it's not a Zeon kit, it's got that Zeonic cool vibe. And honestly, if you do not have one, you need to get yourself one. At the number 3 spot in my least favorite high-grade Gundams is this absolute assault on the senses that is the high-grade Phoenix narrative version. So, a long time ago when I got into Gunpla, the second time around, the first time around I got the Master Grade Wing Zero Custom, like a lot of people would have back in those days, when that would have came out and Gunpla was at a bit of a peak back then. The second time I got into Gunpla was when I moved to Japan back in 2011. This was the first kit that I bought because I was like, damn, that is a fine looking Gundam. That's a cool looking Gundam. I didn't really know the differences between high grade, master grade, etc. back then, so I just went for the one I thought looked the coolest and wasn't so expensive. So yeah, if you're a straight builder, a beginner, anything like that, the high grade Unicorn Gundam is one to avoid. It just is not very nice. It doesn't look good, doesn't feel good. There's a lot of better options when it comes to palm-sized unicorns out there. You know what does not make it better? Gold plating it and giving it huge wings when it can't even hold itself together too well, and the nubs are super obvious. I think the Phoenix is a cool kit. It's a really over-the-top idea. The mobile suit itself, a giant gold winged unicorn, is pretty cool. It's just high grade is not the place to be doing a kit like that, especially one that's going to be pockmarked with these black little holes because it was never designed from the ground up to be gold plated. Bandai have beaten the dead horse that is the high-grade unicorn for a long time. Also, did I mention that the plastic in this is incredibly brittle? When Bandai does metallic plate a kit, they use a extremely brittle plastic. I'm not sure, it must be something to do with the chemistry or science behind plating a kit, but yeah, it's gonna break. Honestly, if you just have to get yourself a Phoenix, I recommend shelling out for some of the big boys, which would be the real grade, the perfect grade, or if you're very desperate and don't care if it's a figure, you could get the Robot Damashi. All pretty good. Excellent in some cases. Just this one right here? Not for me. Building a high-grade Gundam is pretty damn cool, right? But you know what's sometimes even cooler? Building a whole bunch of the same Gundam model kit. And that is where army builder kits excel. So if you don't know what an army builder kit is, that is a kit like the Leo, the Dagger, the Windom, various Jims and Zakus that are out there that are at a fairly low-ish price point, that it's not an absolute wallet massacre whenever you want to build a few of them, like 5 or 6. But there is one army builder kit that is my absolute favorite, and that is the Greys from Iron-Blooded Orphans. So there's a multitude of reasons to this. The Greys itself, compared to a lot of the other Iron-Blooded Orphans kits, has held up really well. That is because it is quite simple. It's an inner frame with some basic armor on top, and that is it. It's not inundated with arms and legs, huge wings, axes, guns, the like that a lot of the other kits do have that kind of make them a little bit floppy-droppy after a while. The Greys is basic, and it's its basic aspect that lets it, well, handle itself to a degree. On top of that, the Greys is very modular, as Iron-Blooded Orphans kits are, so the, well, limitations on customizing out of the box are very low. Grab yourself a whole bunch of Greyses, even some of the Greys variants, and there you go, you can mix and match to your heart's content. On top of that, there's a lot of Iron-Blooded Orphans option sets out there that aren't that expensive, that really can throw a whole bunch of new options into the mix. So you get yourself a couple of Greyses, a couple of option sets, and you can have endless fun customizing right out of the box without any need for glue, paint, primer, or anything like that. But if you want to throw those all in and make your own custom colored army, then you can do that too. I highly recommend, and I love, the high-grade Greys. The Shiden comes a close second though. That kit's cool. So coming in at number 2 and getting silver for my least favorite high grade of all time, and this one won't surprise a lot of you at all. You'd probably expect it to be at the number 1 slot. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you know I despise the Cheese Master. This right here is the high grade Gym 3 Beam Master, nearly said Blast Master, from Gundam Build Divers, and one of, if not the worst Build Divers kits around, if not one of the most worstest high-grade kits I've seen come out as a new kit in a long time. This of course is based off of an older kit, which is the high-grade Gym 3, but that is no excuse. That orange is horrendous. It looks like it's carved from a block of cheddar cheese. The brown and white doesn't really make it much better looking, and the color separation beyond that is abysmal. And even if you could get past that because you're like, hey, I'm gonna paint this so I don't care, well, it's just outright janky on top of that. Some of the parts don't fit that well. Look in under the arms, under the shoulders or anything, it's just hollow and ugly. And to make matters worse, it can barely hold its own weapon. And a lot of the fittings don't fit and parts fall off. The front of the weapon will fall off. This thing just falls to pieces. I don't know what Bandai were thinking. Gyms, Jeggins, all of those Federation-style grunt suits are so cool, and there's a lot of better ones they could have based a Beam Master on, but they went with this one, and I do not know why. I honestly see zero reasons whatsoever for picking up this kit. I say avoid it. It's one of the worst high grades I've ever laid my hands on. So jumping now into my second favorite high grade of all time, and that is this right here, the absolutely phenomenal Moon Gundam. So there's a whole lot to say about the Moon Gundam that, honestly, in a kind of off-the-cuff video like this, will miss everything of worth. But this is the whole package. This is a high grade that doesn't even look like a high grade. If you told me this was a real grade, and I didn't get to touch it, I'd believe ya. So this right here was designed by one of my all-time favorite Gundam mechanical designers, which is Gyobu Ippei. So just to mention a couple of mobile suits that were designed by him, just to give you a flavor of what sort of awesome designs he makes, well, that'd be like the Gundam G Lucifer, a lot of Iron-Blooded Orphans designs like the Kimaris Vidar, Gundam Vidar, the Shiden, Gundam Astaroth. He also designed the mobile doll Sarah, which is why it looks like Kimaris. And of course he did the badass designs from Mobile Suit Moon Gundam, include Moon Gundam here, Vargil, and a whole plethora of killer designs that need model kits that sadly will probably never get any. Unless they make an anime of Moon Gundam. They probably should. But yeah, the kit itself is made out of absolute high quality, buttery plastic that is so nice to work with. The color separation is off the charts. We've got some plastic layering, which is the gray coming through to be seen on the surface, which isn't usually something that we see on high grades. The articulation is phenomenal as well, and honestly, if you have not built one of these, you have to. It is such a treat. Not only does it look fantastic, it feels fantastic too. It's my number 2 for a reason. Grabbing the gold, or should I say the gold-plated turd of the number 1 spot in this list, and this one might be a little bit of a shock. That is why I have nothing on the screen right now. I need to explain myself a little first. I gave this kit Gundarium tier because it is, from an objective perspective, a fantastic design. The ingenuity is off the charts, it's very unique, and it's a build like nothing else. But my problem is, to me, this is not what I'm into Gunpla for. This right here is the Ken Okuyama designed G40 Gundam. I keep this with all of my high grade Oryx 78-2s, and it stands out like a sore thumb. One, I do not like the redesign of this kit whatsoever. It really is not nice to look at for me. On top of that, this is not a scale model. This is not a 1/44th scale Gundam because there's nothing technological about this. There is no thought behind what makes this move. This is not a machine. This is a series of weird white joints with a bit of a Gundam veneer on top. And it started to kind of loosen up over time. It's a rattly little bobble-headed mess. And, you know, I got into Gunpla because I love scale robots. I like to know that they're a scale replica of what a giant robot would be. A tank on legs, a walking war machine. This, to me, and it's a weird thing to say, but if you get what I'm saying, you'll get what I'm saying, kind of feels like a glorified maquette or toy. In a way, you could say that about all of them, but it just doesn't scream scale model to me, and that's why I don't like it. I will mention though, I do not believe all of Gunpla should be homogenized into the one kind of kit and the one kind of kit only. Experiments are very important, and this I do believe did affect some kits that came out after it, and it will keep on improving kits that come out after it for a long time. But when it comes to a high grade Gundam, this I just don't like. And my number 1 favorite high grade of all time, and has been for quite a while now, and I did say I wouldn't be putting too many build kits in this list, I meant in the bad side, because they are actually in the good side quite a bit. This is the absolutely phenomenal high grade Jim from the Gundam Build Fighters movie, Jim's Counterattack. What can I say? This, to me, is almost the perfect high grade. It's got that cool Gundam look, but they give it a fun color scheme. It's orange, and the orange is not ugly. This is such a cool redesign, a modernization of the Jim. The beveling on the surfaces to give it a nicer look, some really cool geometric lines around the cockpit hatch, and it's thrown in those cool joints up in the shoulders, which allows the arms to pull forward. The articulation is great, it looks fantastic. You've got 3 different heads inside of this box, and if you do grab the optional set that is out there for the weapons, you get some of the funnest high-grade modular weapons out there. If you buy 3 of these, you can have 3 different kits, and I'm honestly surprised I haven't done it yet. I'm gonna write a note right now to buy 2 more of these so I can have them all. I just have the original one I've had since I reviewed it. I adore it. I thought some of the other kits that came out after it, including the GBN guard frame and the Gundam, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, the fluorescent granddaddy, I thought those were gonna follow suit with this kit and be the same level of awesome, but they just do not have the magic that the Gym has. If you're considering making some kind of custom Gym, I highly recommend using this as the base. It is such a phenomenal little kit. I love it to pieces. For me, this is one of the most fun kits around. It's everything. It ticks all the boxes for me. It looks great, it feels great, and it's one of those things you can just put on your desk and pose it whenever you want. There's no fear of falling off parts, nothing like that. It's simple, effective, and just an all-round super fun gunpla. I highly recommend it. I love it. Love it to bits. So anyway, that right there is for my top 5 favorites and least favorite high-grade kits. So let me know down there in the comments, is that what you expected on this, or is it completely different? Which ones do you think I would add to it? Which ones were a complete shock? Also, throw down there, what are your top 5 favorites and least favorites? There's a lot of high-grade kits I haven't built, so let me know what you suggest to avoid, and maybe, just maybe, I might get around to one of those. Anyways, always, thank you so much for watching. Thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring the video, and as always, I will see you next time. As always, thank you so much for watching. These videos would not be possible without you guys watching these videos, so thank you once again. And special thanks, of course, to those of you who are supporting me on Patreon and over on the channel memberships, including Van Fawn, Tyler Sanders, Sean T, Mr. Winter, Lauren Seahack, Joseph Kukluk, Global Frequency Studios, Caleb Engelhardt, Bakito Official, and Craig Jerry.